So here we are on lesson 2. You should have gotten a handout. It has 2 parts. I guess technically it's lesson 4 because you had one with the picture, then you had one with the functions. We're going to do the same thing with plant cells this time instead of animal cells. Plant cells are slightly different than animal cells, and you really have to be aware of what the differences are. So let's start off with number 1. Seems like a good place to start. Number 1 is pointing to the empty space inside of the cell. And if you remember from the animal cell, everyone should be able to tell me what that's called. It's a jelly-like substance. It is called the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm, as we remember, it has chemicals in it. It can move the little organelles around inside the cell. Sometimes they need to be next to each other in order to do their job. Sometimes they need to be next to other organelles, so it does that. It also fills up the center of the cell, gives it some structure, and it protects these little organelles. If there wasn't something there for them to float in, they would kind of be banging into each other. They'd be have the cell membrane and things just kind of all piled up together. So this is a very important part of a cell. Number two, we found that in the animal cell also, but it was really, really small. In plants, it's very large, and it's quite often found in the center of the cell. Sometimes, a lot of times, if you remember the onion cells that we looked at, it had the nucleus pushed off to the side and the whole center of the cell was open. That is because the vacuole was there. So this is called a vacuole. And the vacuole, hopefully you remember, it stores water, food, and waste that the cell either needs or needs to get rid of. Plants can't just get up and walk away, go find some food, can't find some water. So they have to store a lot of that. That's kind of why we eat plants, because they have a lot of glucose and water stored in their vacuoles, and that gives us energy and gives us water. Number 3, the big egg-looking thing. Hopefully you all knew that one before we even got to it. Nucleus. The brain, right, controls everything that goes on inside of the cell. Pretty important part. It also contains the genetic material that would help the plant to reproduce so that it could make cells and it could function. It's like a blueprint. It has all of the directions that the organism needs in order to grow and live and all of the things that it needs to do. Now we come to number 4, my favorite organelle. Got some M's in there. That's our mighty mitochondria. And the mitochondria are the powerhouses. They take the glucose, the sugar that's been extracted from the food that you eat, and they make it, change it into a form that the cell can actually use. It can't just take that sugar and use it the way it is. Kind of like electricity. We burn coal and generate electricity with it. You can't just burn coal and run your light. You have to actually change it from the energy of the coal into electricity. Number 5. This one's a new one. We haven't seen this one yet. That is the chloroplast. And the chloroplasts make plants completely different from animals, because plants don't eat other plants or animals in order to get energy. They actually make their own food from sunlight. They have a chemical change that happens within the cells, and they make their own food. The chloroplasts are green. They look like little green discs kind of stacked up on top of each other, and they trap that sunlight and help the cell to make food. So chloroplasts, very, very important, full of chlorophyll, which is what makes them green. Number 6, another part that you did not see in the animal cell, but you did see in the onion cells. It's called the cell wall. And the cell wall gives structure and support for the cell. It actually provides, the stem and all of the parts. It gives them a more rigid structure. It's very important for protection. And last, on this page, we have the cell membrane. And the cell membrane is also found in the animal cell. We've already seen that before. Kind of acts like a doorway or a screen. It lets things in that the cell needs, and it keeps out the things that you don't need in the cell. So, very important. All of these organelles work together. We will be going on to another lesson where you will actually record those functions again.